At yet another family dinner, guess where they seated me? Right next to the trash bin, again. While everyone toasted promotions and laughed over fine wine, I sat with my daughter by a swinging kitchen door, surrounded by dirty dishes and the stench of shrimp shells. No one looked our way. No one cared. But then, out of nowhere, my 7-year-old stood up, walked into that room full of adults, and said one sentence so honest, so bold, it shut down the entire table. Family dinners were supposed to be heartwarming, full of laughter, stories, and shared meals. But in my family, they often felt more like a silent show. Some siblings flaunted their successes, others showcased their happiness. And then there was me, Elena, the invisible one. I was the only divorced sibling, the one raising a child alone. While my brothers brought along their well-groomed wives who laughed loudly, and my sister boasted about her latest real estate success, I showed up with my quiet 7-year-old, Lily, and a casserole I could barely afford to make. Every year, my parents hosted a grand Thanksgiving-esque dinner in early spring, a family tradition they cherished. The house smelled of herbs and melting butter, candles flickered on the mantel, and the dining room shined under a chandelier I'd helped hang years ago when I still felt like I was part of the family. That afternoon, I arrived early to help out in the kitchen. I peeled potatoes, chopped carrots, and arranged appetizers, tasks I did without acknowledgement, but which they always expected me to handle. My mom didn't check if I was hungry, and my sister-in-law didn't thank me for my help. I was just there, like background music, filling a role, but easily forgotten. Yet I plastered on a smile and kept quiet. I didn't want Lily to sense the heaviness in my heart whenever someone overlooked me. As dinner time drew near, everyone gathered in the dining room, which looked like something out of a Pinterest board, cloth napkins neatly folded, shiny cutlery, wine glasses already half-filled. Laughter swirled around the room. I stood at the doorway with Lily, clutching the casserole I'd brought. Trying to find a place at the main table felt futile. I figured someone had simply forgotten to pull out a chair for us. My older brother casually pointed. "Oh, Elena, there's a spot for you in the kitchen. By the door." I blinked. "Oh?" "Yeah," he shrugged. "We ran out of room. Just squeeze in there. You and Lily should be fine." I stepped into the kitchen. There it was, a plastic folding chair jammed up against the swinging door. To its left, the trash bin sat half full, its lid ajar, already exuding the sharp odor of vinegar and meat scraps. To the right, a pile of dirty dishes awaited rinsing. Lily peered up at me. "Are we sitting here, Mama?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, sweetheart. It's fine. It's still dinner." We took a seat. I served her a small portion, trying to convince myself it didn't matter. That this was the 3rd year in a row we'd been banished from the main table. That it didn't sting to be reminded yet again that my family didn't view me as their equal. But Lily noticed everything. She picked up on more than I realized. And when she stood up moments later and strolled into that dining room, she didn't just speak for me. She transformed everything. The first few minutes in the kitchen hung in awkward silence. From where I sat, I could hear it all. Forks clinking, laughter erupting, toasts to new cars and promotions. It was a lovely dinner, for everyone else. Here and there, someone would peek into the kitchen and say, "You good in there?" Or, "Help yourself to more rolls if you want," as if we were purposely hiding away. As if we weren't stuck next to a trash bin that stank of shrimp shells and melted butter. I tried to eat, tried to smile. Lily was picking at her mashed potatoes. She kept glancing toward the dining room, toward her cousins, her uncles, her grandma. But no one beckoned her over. Nobody said, "Come join us." At one point, my sister popped her head through the door, saw us, hesitated for a moment, then walked away. That hesitation? It stung the most. Because she recognized it. She knew it was wrong, but said nothing. I folded my napkin in my lap and cleared my throat. "You okay, sweetie?" Lily nodded, her little lips pressed tight. "Why do we always sit back here?" she asked softly. I hesitated. "There's just not much room. But there's space next to Uncle Mark." she pointed out. And Grandma has an empty chair next to her purse. How could I argue? She was spot on. I wanted to scream. Why do you always push me aside? Why does my daughter have to believe her mother belongs next to trash? But I kept those thoughts to myself. Don't ruin dinner, I told myself. Don't be the drama queen. I reached for my water glass, willing my tears to stay put. Then Lily stood up. I glanced at her, surprised. Where are you going? To say something, she murmured, already heading toward the swinging door. Lily, wait. I tried to stop her, but it was too late. I could hear her tiny footsteps on the hardwood floor. Then, clear as day, her voice cut through the clatter and chatter. Why is my mom sitting next to the trash? Is that where you think she belongs? The room froze. All sound ceased. I held my breath behind the door, a mix of terror and pride swelling inside me. Lily continued, her voice shaky yet resolute. She made food. She helped Grandma. She always helps everyone. But you put her next to the garbage. That's mean. She's not garbage. You could almost feel the shame wash over the room like a wave. My sister set down her wine glass. My brother stared at his plate. My mother blinked speechless. And then Lily added, softer this time. I don't want to sit next to trash anymore. I want to sit next to my mom. Where people belong. And just like that, she articulated what I could never find the words for. The silence that followed Lily's words was something I'd never experienced in that house. It wasn't awkward, it was thick. As if shame had taken a seat at the table. I waited in the kitchen, frozen, ears straining to catch what was happening. For a moment, no one dared to respond. Then I heard movement. Footsteps. Chairs shuffling. The door creaked open. It was my mother. Her expression was tight, unreadable. She glanced between me and Lily, who stood with her arms crossed, brave but clearly upset. Come back to the table, my mother said softly. There's space now. But Lily didn't budge. She looked up at her and asked, Did you just make space now because I said something? Or because you finally see it was wrong? My mother flinched, just a bit. Her mouth opened, then closed again. For the first time, I noticed something in her I'd never seen before. Recognition. I stood and gently placed my hand on Lily's shoulder. It's okay, I whispered. We can stay here. But Lily turned to me and said, No, it's not okay. They always do this. And you always say nothing. That broke me. Because she was right. I had normalized the insult. Swallowed it for years like it was nothing. And in doing so, I taught my daughter that silence equaled strength. That dignity meant putting up with disrespect. But Lily, with her fearless heart, was rewriting that narrative, right in front of everyone. We walked into the dining room together. No one dared to meet our eyes. My brother was engrossed in his wine. My sister suddenly found interest in buttering her bread. My sister-in-law offered a tight, uncomfortable smile. Claire, one of the cousins, even slid her chair over to make space. Lily took the empty chair between my father and Claire. I sat beside her. The seat had always been there, they just chose to ignore it. I could feel the weight of their gazes, but I didn't shrink. Not this time. My mother resumed her seat and cleared her throat. Elena, she began. I didn't mean to make you feel less than? I interjected calmly. Unwelcome? Discarded? She nodded slowly. Yes. It wasn't just tonight, I replied, locking eyes with her. It's been years. I just stopped voicing it. But Lily didn't. And there it was, the twist. This wasn't just a breakdown. It was a breakthrough. Because a 7-year-old girl had called out a whole table of adults, and they had no defense. She hadn't raised her voice. She had merely spoken the truth. And for the first time in what felt like forever, they listened. The rest of the dinner took on a different tone. Quiet. Softer. It was as though the room had been laid bare. The false warmth, the superficial smiles, They all cracked open with the simple revelation from a little girl who refused to pretend any longer. Not much was said after that. Small talk came in fits and starts, but the atmosphere had shifted. The air felt reflective. A bit uncomfortable. But perhaps that wasn't such a bad thing. Because for once, I wasn't just tolerated. I was seen. My mother passed me the mashed potatoes without being prompted. My brother poured Lily a glass of juice. And my sister, who rarely asked about my life, leaned in and whispered, "You okay?" I nodded. "We're fine." But we were more than fine. We felt free. Later, after the dishes were cleared and coats gathered, Lily and I stepped out to the car. She held my hand tighter than usual, as though she understood the weight of what she'd done but couldn't fully articulate it yet. I buckled her into her seat and paused before shutting the door. "Hey," I gently said, "I'm proud of you." She tilted her head, puzzled. "For what?" "For speaking up. For being so brave. For reminding me that it's okay to say, this isn't right." She smiled, a bit uncertain. "Were they mad at me?" "No," I replied. "They were surprised. But sometimes people need a little shock to start seeing clearly." She glanced down at her shoes. "I just didn't like how they treated you." That's when it hit me. She hadn't stood up out of anger. She stood up because she loved me. And in that moment, I felt more than just pride. I felt relief. Because I realized I hadn't passed on my silence. I hadn't taught her to endure disrespect just to keep the peace. I had raised a daughter who could recognize injustice, even when it appeared as simply sitting next to a trash bin. And she did something about it. That night, I lay in bed feeling an unusual calm in my chest. For the first time in years, I didn't replay the dinner in my head, speculating what I should have said. Because someone had said it for me. A child. My child. And somehow, her voice carried all the words I had buried for so long. Not out of rebellion. Not out of spite. But out of love. And love, when expressed with honesty, has the power to change everything. Speech balloon. If you saw a loved one being treated unfairly, would you speak up? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'm all ears.